Welcome to the Passion of Entrepreneurship. I am Ravi Tangri, and every weekday in June, I am bringing you another incredible entrepreneur to share their journey and what it was that started them moving, what fuels them, what gets them through the challenges. And today, I'm so happy to be able to bring you a friend of mine from Portugal, Inese Soncika, who is actually fairly new into the entrepreneurial field. She is about a year and a half, right, Inese?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, into
Serious.
working.
Yeah.
Yeah, her business as an astrologer and doing work with energy healing. But she comes from a really interesting background, a lot of things that are perhaps diametrically opposed, but the journey always gets you where you need, right?
Yeah, exactly. As we talked before starting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree.
So you said that when you first left school, what you're doing now wasn't really an option where you were in Latvia, right?
Yeah. First, I want to just say hello to everyone and thank you so much for having me here. So it's a pleasure. Yes. So as we were speaking before we went live, yes. So I was interested in languages and psychotherapy. And even though as a little child I was always interested in this, like there's another dimension, there's another realms, I intuitively knew it. But after finishing secondary school, like there wasn't this obvious choices. Oh, I want to study astrology, or it wasn't really like in my mind. I was contemplating. It wasn't like I can make a career out of this. It was like it wasn't really matured, that idea. It came really much later, a few years ago, and I really said, okay, I want to do that. So I studied psychotherapy for a few years in university in Latvia, which was really interesting, and I really learned a lot because it plays really well into what I'm doing now. Because like psychotherapy and psychology and energy healing, those are all tools and modalities we can use to hold space and assist someone in their journey.
Right.
Yeah.
And how does I'm curious because if I think of the two side by side, psychotherapy seems a little more structured, and I'm curious how the structure of that um, flows with the intuitive healings, how you find that works for you.
Well, it's human behavior, right? And the human
Yes.
character and why we do the things we do. And trauma is interesting for me, and emotional side and how that all plays. So for me, they work together beautifully. Like I don't really see much like in my work. There is no separation. So
Nice.
you know what I mean? I can't really there. I don't know really how to answer your question. They flow really well together.
That's
In
wonderful to hear that, right? Because a lot of times people from that world tend to discredit the more intuitive type of work, right?
I guess it depends on a person. Because like
Yes,
I said
totally.
before, I was born highly intuitive and empath and sensitive. So for me, psychology was also a way to learning about me first.
Right.
So it was like I was wanted to understand, and same astrology. First, everything came. I wanted to learn why this is happening. Like, let's say, because I was very sensitive, there came these challenges, and so I was learning more about me first. So that's how the journey I think goes. You learn about yourself, and then when you go through that journey, you're able to present those tools and use those tools for working with other people. If that
Yes.
makes sense. Yeah.
Totally makes sense. But then your journey didn't end with the psychotherapy, right? Because you
Not at
found some.
all. It just started. So yeah, so basically I studied for a while and then I started to travel. I traveled for a while, just exploring. I was like a little bit of a rebel and free spirit. So I was like, okay, let's go out there in the world and see what's out there. What can I learn? Where can I go? Who can I meet? So I had that energy of like it's like first my hometown was too small, then my country was too small, and then I was just going. So after a few years of traveling, I ended up in Portugal because I absolutely fell in love the first time I came here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved here, and even before that, I studied interior design, so I got my diploma in interior design while traveling. Then I worked a little bit in that area because I am also drawn to like aesthetics and beauty and design. So I studied also fashion production, which I worked in here in Portugal for a magazine. And then somehow it just kept like moving to different. I don't know. Or I got bored or there was something else. I was always like, okay, I love this. But my heart was like, okay, let's try something else. And I even worked like, because when my son was 2, I remember I started working actually as a waitress in a restaurant. I don't know, I don't know how I did that now looking back. But then I was a bartender and then I was a manager for a while. And then that was like, it was enough. Like, it was like, okay, I learned what I wanted to learn. I didn't want it to be in that environment anymore.
Right.
So it has been quite a different kind of range of experiences. But like we talked, I see how, and I think it will keep unfolding how all these skills and ways I was experiencing myself in all these areas will come together, because I am still interested in fashion and jewelry and things like that. So maybe in the future I can combine it with astrology and create like beautiful clothes and jewelry and things like that. So
love that.
And the business, yeah.
So, and also as we were chatting before, you said that this is part of your personality as a Capricorn, that you have to go out to explore to find where your passion is. So you have to try all these things.
Yes. There was one thing I read a long time ago, when the Capricorns need to find their passion thing and they will not stop until for me, it's very much true. Because even though I was quite good at most all of the things I chose to do, they're set in a process where it was plateaued or stagnated. And then I knew, so where I am now feels very purpose filled, like it fills my soul. So I think there was a reason why I went through this kind of different areas of work. But my deepest soul calling is to work in service for humanity and collective and be of assistance in the process of healing. And that is something like deeply seated in me. So that's like it's a purpose-led, soul-led work, if that makes sense. And then when you got into that, so I said yes fully to that in the beginning of last year, a little bit before even, and said, okay, this is what I want to do fully. Like, and then I said, like, the universe, like, so I'm going to put all of my energy and my trust and my work into this. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I will trust that I will get the tools and the resources to have the finances or whatever to survive and then to thrive doing what I love to do.
Okay. So, but that calling that you speak of, that's been there from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's just you didn't know how to express it, so you went searching.
Yeah. Yes, because let's say also I grew up still with, I think until recent years, with quite a conditioned kind of idea that I really can't make a full-time career out of my passion. I didn't really believe it. And so because of that, then I couldn't really step into that like I do now.
Okay. So how did that belief change? What experiences allowed you to say, you know what, I can do this and do this, what I'm passionate about, as my full-time vocation?
Yeah. I think there are a few things. I think So one thing that happened was I had a very intense and karmic relationship, which pushed all my limitations and my ideas and beliefs to the limit, which made me kind of break down and then break through. This opened my kind of consciousness of, I have this one life, and if I really want to go into doing what I love, this is the time. And also, I had my nodal return, and what happens is, when it happens, usually you have this very strong soul calling, like this clarity kind of sets in, and I really felt it, like really. I was very aware, like I had this awareness setting in. I can do this. I want to do this. I can do this. I don't know how. I don't see all the tools. There was a lot of surrender and trust in that process. But those two aspects. So there was a relationship that broke me open. And then there was this, like, yeah, I associate like really strongly with my nodal return, like because I'm astrologer, I could see.
So which return was that?
So nodal return, when your nodes,
Oh, the nodal return. Okay, yes.
and they return to the home sign. So mine is in a Cancer, so that was so in a 10th house. So it's well, I don't want to go too much into astrology, but basically how humanly and personally it manifested was like I gained a lot more clarity and like kind of strength and belief in myself. It was like really soul pulling me towards that. Okay, now it's the time. Like it's time. It's time for you to step up. It's time for you to start doing the thing, even if you're afraid.
So it was. I mean, you said you went through that. That intense time with that relationship, but it was also. It's like you moved into the stage where it's time.
Yeah, so those were the two like kind of catalysts. Yeah.
Okay. So from that point, how did you crystallize the idea? How did you start making that transition from the job to starting to create your business? What was that journey?
So first of all, I was never really a job type person. I was very much like, that's why kind of like my relationships, even like when I was working, let's say in a restaurant, it was like there was this like energy, like we really appreciate your work, but you really do things your own way. Like I do things the way I see them fit, and that's why I'm very like oriented to having my own like space, building my own. So I was never like a 9 to 5 person actually ever, unless it was for like short periods of time. So even the areas that I worked was more like not freelance, but it was like there was more freedom. It wasn't like I had to get up and go to job and then go home. So I was always very scared of that kind of dynamic.
Right.
I have a different type of energy in me, which is this entrepreneurial. I like to create and build, and it takes commitment, but I needed to find the right thing. And then I knew when I have that passion in place and I have that vision, I know I could do it. Like,
okay. So let's take a step back then from when you started expressing that to when before you actually started. So it sounds like there's a word I use, some people use, called intrapreneurial, where someone is entrepreneurial inside an organization. It sounds like you were doing that even if you had a job, you said you treated it as if it was your own. So you didn't really follow the guidelines, but you made sure you got what needed done.
Very much so. Yeah. I always find like kind of my own ways, and I see the bigger picture and I see how to get things done. So sometimes I use my own ways. I don't always follow like the typical route. And I think that's a good thing for someone that wants to build their own business. If that answers your question, I don't know.
So where did you find the confidence for that you're going in, even when you were younger, you were going into this job and you're saying, no, I want to do it this way? Because for a lot of people might be intimidated to do that, going into a job that way.
I never struggled with that. It was more the opposite. It was I needed to kind of it came very naturally for me to be that way.
Okay.
So I was afraid of the opposite. I was afraid that I would like, do I really have to someday get a job that I have to follow all these guidelines, and then where is gonna my spirit go? And I like that was the fear. It wasn't the fear of expressing a different way of doing things, or like, let's say, I'm very good with learning and following like the guidelines at the beginning, but then once I get the gist of what I have to do, I love to expand different ways.
So you see the better ways to do it, and then you go for it.
You could say so. Yeah. If I believe something works better than someone else says, then I will do that way.
Yeah, because a lot of people just keep doing it because it's the way it's always been done, and
So
they don't want to rock the boat.
I obviously there's ways and traditions and tools, and especially building a business that work, but I'm always questioning everything, and I'm always curious about what's new, how I combine it in this. And because I've lived very much on this kind of on this edge, like I'm kind of part of like doing this, but then I'm not. So I was always very much seeing the bigger picture and how can I put it in words? Like I think it's seeing a bigger picture and how you can
Mhm.
use tools in a different way and use relationships, and you not use relationships, but you see the bigger vision. So I have a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. I hope I'm
So
answering.
no, that makes sense. So it's even though it's very recent that you've actually started your business, you really were clear this was the route you were going to go, but you were in a process of learning, of testing, of exploring.
Yeah,
Uh, and even in that time, you were really still being an entrepreneur,
I
but
think so.
just in a job.
Yeah, and I have had other types of like, so I had when I was pregnant with my son, and then after like about 2 years I did like a network marketing as well. So like there was that part, and then I studied business for a while as well. So there's been like all these, like I said, like when I was contemplating coming on to talk to you, there was quite a lot, like, and it's like, how do I put all these pieces together? But I think they do fit together. Like
Yeah,
once I see,
that
um,
makes total sense to me. So, what was it that you think helped you develop this independence and this entrepreneurial spirit when you were young? Is it something that was always there, or were there things in your life that helped you grow this?
I think I was always there. I was always such a super independent little child. My mom said I would always do whatever I want to do. And I would just come in like 3 years old, and I was like, I'm gonna go to like to the I don't know, what did I say? But she was telling me like all these different little cute things I did. But I was like very much like, okay, I'm gonna do this now. Bye. Like, at a very young age. Like
Yeah.
so it has been always there. The thing that was lacking was maybe seeing someone, maybe in my closer family, or someone even that I could look up and see, okay, that's what I'm going to do. Like these are the
Yeah.
practical steps. So there was a lack of confidence. So that's why I think I also consider exploring like different, like more traditional kind of ways. And I always like, but I always had this fear of having a job. Now I realize it when I talk to you. Like I was afraid of having a job. I would like
Okay.
fueled me to develop and learn. I was always learning, even whether it is business. I'm very interested in business and marketing and how it works, and how it works for different people and in different sectors and different industries that I have explored. So that's been very beneficial for me, even though I'm still on a learning curve, because I think the way it's really connecting to me, it's like a more feminine flow marketing than more than
Hmm.
traditional. But I like to learn how it's done and then tweak it my way, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
and then adapt it to my personality and who I am. So the drive and the motivation and the confidence, I think, so yeah, it has been there, but it's been doubt there, like in the journey of like discovering, okay, I have what it takes. So that took a while, like to say, okay, I have what it takes. So I was
Yeah.
learning that through my life experiences.
So that's interesting. And you had to build that confidence because, like you say, the other thing was you didn't have the examples when you were young.
Yeah.
So you had to build the confidence that you could create what you needed.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
That took years. That was not an easy journey, and even the last year wasn't easy at all. Like stepping out and even talking like on an interview and talking in front of a camera and all of those things, and even doing sessions with clients. Like the first one, I was terrified. Like the thing was, I knew I had the gift and I studied hard over years and years, so I knew I put in the part that the studying part and the working and who am I. But the confidence that of the doing the my I think when you really, there is a challenges and test from universe when you really want to step into your purpose work. I would put it that way. There's going to be tests like, do you really can, are you ready for this? Do you really want to do it? And maybe that's why I'm only really stepping into this like later, like I'm 38, right? But I think it's the perfect time. Like, I don't think I've wasted any time at
Right.
all. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I wish I would have started at 20 and I would now be this. Like, no, I see it as everything has unfolded really in divine timing for me to do this, what I'm
It's
doing.
always the right time.
Yeah.
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 So when you stepped into it, like you said, you still had a bit of anxiety about doing the work, even though
Yeah.
you knew you had it. How did you build your confidence in that? What did you do to get more confident at that?
I started to do things that I'm most afraid of. Like
Okay.
if I would be afraid to go on and do an interview or a webinar, I would do exactly that. Like last year was very much doing, and it's like it wasn't easy. Like I was still healing a lot. So
Mhm.
that was one part, and the other part was really finding my tribe and my community and starting to really connect with people, and also connecting with healers, because I'm still, it's a never ending journey of expansion and growth. But I reached out and did a lot of healing through other people and with other people holding space for me and to overcome the fears or trauma or wounds or so. Someone else holding space was really important through this journey for me as well, even though I did a lot on my own. And then, yeah, doing the thing, usually the thing we're most afraid of do, but we know really deeply that we have to do, is the thing we have to do. And I really followed that, because I said that I said in the beginning of the last year,
Yeah.
I'm doing this full on, like I'm going to deliver, and I expected the universe to deliver back like 100%. That's how,
So
that's my level of confidence. It wasn't easy at all. Like sometimes I lost it, and sometimes I was completely like, should I give up? Like I can't. This is too hard. But then you keep going and you build strength, and it's just part of the journey.
so let me ask about that. Those times when you felt like the giving up,
Yeah.
what was it that let you keep going? How did you tap into what you needed to keep going? You've already said that you did reach out to others for help and allowed them to support you and help
Yeah.
you. What else did you do that enabled you to get through those times?
Good question. I always, like, since I was little, and I talked with someone today about this, I always had this vision of what I'm going to do in life since I was very young. And I'm on the route to there. So that inner thing that, like, I'm here to do and be this person and to do these things. And not
Hmm.
from an ego point at all. It's more of a mission oriented. It's like,
Right.
my soul's on a mission. I have to do this. And then one big factor, obviously, is my son. I want to be a living example of what's possible, humanly possible, for a person when you set your mind to an achieving and living, basically walking the talk, because
Yes.
we can talk a lot, but when it comes to time to really do the actions and embody that with like the knowledge and turn it into wisdom and actually step up and live that life that you talk about, it's a whole different game.
Yes.
And I'm grateful to have had the strength and courage to go through some of the times I've gone, because I don't really wish those on anybody's, but I think it built something really powerful in me, that I can trust myself, and then I
Mhm.
can stand, like I can trust life and trust universe, that I will be supported as long as I show up and do my part and love myself.
So let me ask, if you were to meet your 20-year-old self,
Yes.
what advice would you give to her coming from where you are now?
Don't be so scared, because I was very scared of like, I was very scared because I was looking around and I was like, this world is like crazy. That's how my 20 year, that's how I was thinking. And I was like, I'm basically surviving for most of the time. Like, because I was so highly sensitive, it was not easy. And those who are empaths and like intuitives,
Mhm.
like, it's not an easy journey until you find that, until you heal and you go through these relationships that really break you down, and then you have your breakthroughs, and they basically break you open for you to find yourself. It's a really hard and difficult journey. So I would say just keep believing that these lessons or challenges are there for a purpose and reason, and don't be afraid. It's all going to be turned out fine. It's all going to be better than you have ever imagined. That's what I would say.
Okay. And I find that fascinating because, you say that, you did all this stuff and you went traveling and you were learning the interior design while you were traveling. Like all of that would seem to suggest a very confident person. And
Yeah.
yet you say and that this is the thing. A lot of people can still have fear,
Yes, I
even
was.
if you're doing all those things, those things.
Exactly. I was doing all these fears and exploring. So basically, I was attacking my fears head on. Like, I was a very shy teenager, and I was very kind of afraid. So I would just I was just like, okay, let's go traveling. Let's learn to overcome this fear. So this wasn't like I was like, there was an inner confidence of, there was a simultaneous like thing of, there was a deep trust somewhere deep down that everything's going to turn out fine, but there was a lot of ego fear, like when which I would had to overcome over different experiences. So, and I'm not saying I was like, was born like all this confident. No, I was the opposite. But it doesn't mean I let the fear stop me and I would settle for something and then stay there. I would really try to conquer and like look like straight in the face. Okay, let's what it is that I'm afraid of here. Like because what am I? Why? How can I overcome this fear? How can I overcome like or learn this skill that is kind of stopping me and like me shy or not confident? So I was always about learning skills and overcoming fears. Basically,
Right.
it doesn't mean that it was an absence of fear, but there was a certain, I would say, courage I had, like and kind of like rebellion. Like, okay, if I'm have this one life, then let's try to make the best of it.
And also, I challenge you that there might also have been a bit of a stubbornness that I'm not going to be held back by the fear.
Yes, absolutely, 1,000,000%. I'm so stubborn. I'm still learning not to be, because of that. Because I felt like, so I have a very loving family, but we are very different energetically. So it was not like I had this support and mirroring. So I think I learned to like, okay, it's gonna be my way, because I don't see anyone else like doing things like right.
Yeah.
I know it sounds very big. I was little, so I decided it's gonna be my way. and it's going to be how, because that's going to make me survive. So it did for a while, like it did, like it's like it was like a forceful kind of energy, like I had to, okay, if I have to do this, I have to do this to survive, or to create this kind of success or study. Or but later, then I'm learning now a lot to really I've learned, like it's been years of learning, like to let go those walls, and learn from everyone and everything. But it took time. It was more like I needed to be in this very masculine energy of like survival almost. Not like I was in physical danger.
Yeah.
Sometimes I put myself in crazy situations when I was young, but yeah, there was this kind of persistence and stubbornness and like this resilience. I would say I can say
Yes.
now, like when I look at myself and younger, it's not like I'm bragging about myself. Like it's the opposite. Like but I'm just looking. It was very interesting to contemplate this, coming on to have this conversation, because I really looked at myself like 20 years ago. Because I'm going to be 40 like in 2 years or something. So yeah.
Yeah. So, and in this year and a half since you've actually stepped fully into this, because you said I'm in when you did this, right?
Mhm.
What have you discovered about yourself in that time since you've allowed yourself to step into this?
Yeah. You have really good questions.
Thank you.
You are a very good interviewer. Yeah. Okay. What was the question? What have I discovered in this journey once I said yes to
Yes.
my like what I'm really supposed to do? I discovered it's a very, very rewarding journey. It can be challenging, but it's extremely rewarding. So there's two sides. Life gets more intense for sure,
Yes.
like a lot more. But the rewards and the expansion and the connection and the experience of reality, I would even say, becomes very like kind of elevated. I know
Hmm.
I'm talking quite like in spiritual terms, but that's how I would describe it. On an energetic level, life becomes more, I don't know, magical. I don't know. That's how it felt to me, like once I stepped. But it also becomes, excuse me, the challenges might get a little bit deeper, because you have to dig deeper when you really step into, I think, what you're supposed to bring to the, like you we all have these gifts and talents and stuff we bring, but once you step into and kind of start using them, there are a few challenges your ego will have to overcome, and those are definitely not easy. Like ego is gonna fight for like God. It's been a journey.
Well, it sounds like it's what you're saying is that it just becomes much more intense, both the peaks and the
Yeah.
valleys, both, going high and going down for the challenges.
Yes, and that was my last year, and now it's kind of I feel the energy settling quite a lot. Like I've built a lot of trust in myself. So over the time, like I seeing the feedback, and even and like this feeling, how can I describe it? When I do what I like, my readings or my sessions, or I can hold space for someone and they have this transformation or whatever I can help, the feedback and the feeling is like no money can buy that. And that is one beautiful part of living a soul-led life and doing your purpose work, because nothing, like, obviously everything else is important, like I'm not like denying that, like money is important, like support is important, everything is important, like we can't die like
Hmm.
that. But that part of your soul, like lighting up and
Yeah.
being in that space of gratitude for like working, and that work being something that fills your soul so much, like that's the feeling I want. Like basically that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I wanted that feeling, and I want that to support my life so I can give back more.
Yes. So right now, this year is a very challenging time for everyone, including business owners and entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
And a lot of people are saying, I can't move forward. We can't do things the way that I've done it, right? It's so if you, for a moment, to put the advice you would give your clients from an astrological point of view to the side, and just based on your experience in work and in running your business, what advice would you give an entrepreneur about how to find ways forward in this time?
Yeah, another amazing question. Thank you. I would say our our outside success and expansion is proportional to our inner work, always. So the more that's one part. The more we do our inner work, the more easier it becomes, and it won't. I understand things happen in the world, and we are in such an intense shift as a planet, immense, and there's a lot of change, and change can create fear, but it's also really a push to go inside and find, okay, what's really important to me, what I value, what's real for me. So doing all this inner review and inner work will create more clarity, and will create trust, and will create, I also, everything else comes from that. It's not something you go outside and look for and learn, even though it's like, if you feel called to do something, but I feel like this time is teaching us to the value of who we are, and then we go from there, like, and then we find clarity through that. And then I hope I'm answering the question.
That's a beautiful answer.
So that everything comes from, like, for me, has come from going inside, doing the inner work, and then showing up simultaneously outside. And then that vibration and that energy, it's not only about the effort and the tasks we do, it's about our vibration and energetic signature a lot. And people are starting to understand it. So it's time to go deep inside and see, what do I want to do with my life? And then doing that, it's not easy, I know. I'm going through that journey. I've been through that journey, but it's worth it. And I think this is a big call for humanity to look for those places, those values, those diamond in the raw, what's inside, and then unpack it and see, like, okay, what can I do?
And I think a lot of people have been running away from that before. They haven't wanted to do that personal work. Yeah. And now it's like, here you go.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, I think this time is doing exactly that. And people, like I said, like I mentioned before, it's not an easy journey. So our ego will try to distract us with everything and anything, even being like working too much, doing like exercising, like, I don't know, anything in the world, but to see what's happening inside.
Oh yeah.
That's like, welcome to human experience. That's how we are. But
surprise.
But that's how we are. Like, that's like, and the energetic kind of dynamic at the moment is helping us, and it can feel forceful, but it's a very loving kind of like push or kick, and it's time to wake up,
Yes.
And it's time to live like your potential, and it's time to however it is for anyone. There's no like one like set path. Some people will be, their purpose is caring for, like, I don't know, for someone, like one person. Some person's purpose is talking in front of thousands and millions of people. So it's finding, where do you stand? Like, who are you? Like, it's like this time it's really about that. Like, going really deep inside and like, who are we? And there has been like so much emotional feeling, because I grew up in an environment that we don't recognize our emotions, or maybe a little bit of anger and frustration, but we don't talk about it. Like, we don't hold space for each other. So it's been a lot of healing, and we are still doing that as a collective, and it's going to continue. And I hope it continues, and we can live in that more heart-based reality. And I think a lot of us who kind of move and hold that vibration know, and then we can hold that for others. And then I hope that makes sense.
That's brilliant.
Finished.
So thank you, Inese, so much for joining me. This is
My pleasure. You always you really it's like when I was coming, I was like, what am I going to talk about? But you are very brilliant at holding this space for someone to express
thank
themselves.
you.
So
Thank you so much.
I have to say you are. So thank you very, very much for having me. This was really fun.
Good. I'm glad. And then this is your page on Facebook that people can track you down.
Yes, they can track me down, and they can do sessions and I focus on evolutionary astrology, working with the soul and purpose, but also many astrology, a lot of soul-based astrology. But one new thing that I'm going to be opening is synastry readings, basically compatibility, because a lot of people have been asking me to do that, and I've kind of put it off for a year, for a while. So in July, I'll be opening those. So if someone's interested, you can just message me and chat to me and see and connect if it's been really happening, this kind of soul tribe reunions a lot. I've been feeling it.
Yes.
I get messages with person. I was like, oh, you feel like I've known you for millions of lifetimes, even though I just met you. So it's been interesting time. So yeah, if someone feels called, just message me.
Wonderful. And as I said, all through June, every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern, 5 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, and I think 6 o'clock your time. And
it's 5 actually. 5.
Oh, it is 5. Okay, Jim. That's right. There's another friend of mine who's in Austria at 6 o'clock for him. I'm going to be interviewing another incredible entrepreneur. So please join me here. And we will. I am loving this journey. It's incredible what I'm discovering. So please join me on this, and we will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you. Thank you, Inese.
Everyone. Bye. Thank you.